Hello there, my name is Jonathan and this is Jonathan's Days. This is my knitting podcast where I talk about all the things I get up to in the world of knitting. This is episode 31 and we have a fair bit to talk about this time. I've got some nice finished objects, some nice summer plans, and some exciting new pattern release news and stuff like that. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to talk about some of the things I finished. I have currently no works in progress to kind of update you on, but I have some plans because I've got some stuff that's so fresh off the needles, I haven't even blocked them yet. So let's dive into that. At the end, we'll have some Q&As, those of you who have asked questions, and also some charity work that I worked on that I really want to share with you as well. So let's start with finished objects. I'm wearing my first finished object. This is my Unnamed Raglan sweater. Maybe it will continue to be the Unnamed Raglan sweater. I do have an idea for a name, but this is a design by me. This is in the Raw Wool Company in their DK weight in the color Shepherd Silver, I believe. It will be on the screen. And yeah, I finished this very recently, a couple of days ago. I'll stand up a little bit so you can see how it's looking. And you can see the details here. So it's super simple. It's like a simple basic raglan top-down construction. And what I wanted was for these the raglan shape to continue on from the neckline and come down. So let me come up close like this. So you can see this is the ribbing of the neckline, and then it continues down on the back. It comes down the arm, and then it goes underneath as well, the arm, and at the chest as well, and down into the ribbing. And everything flows really nicely. I'm really happy with it. This isn't blocked. It is on the edge of too tight for me. I did want it to be a nice fitted sweater. So, but I know this yarn, I can feel it. It's just waiting to relax. And so I can't wait to get it in a nice warm bath and get it blocked out, and then it will fluff off even more and turn into that beautiful, almost mohair looking fabric that the Raw Wool Company will always turns into. So I'm very excited about that. And thank you so much to everyone who left good feedback for this and that you'd like me to kind of pursue it. I've been thinking a lot about it. I do definitely want to pursue it as a pattern if people are interested in that. I want to learn a lot more about how to grade up a pattern and see where that takes me. I've been thinking an awful lot about sizing and sizing standards. Obviously, I want to be as size inclusive as possible, but obviously I have a lot of people who, a lot of men who follow me and a lot of women who want to knit something for their male partners or friends or family or whoever. So I kind of have been thinking a lot about there is no universal size. Even the size standards aren't there. From what I can find, there isn't a unisex standard sizing. So for me, it might be a case of doing 2 sets of sizing within the pattern. I'm not too sure yet. It's something I want to explore. I need to do a bit more research into the standard sizes that kind of are out there in the world. I know for me personally, I want to knit a slightly larger version for myself as well, a little more oversized version. Will be quite exciting for me, and I still want to use the Raw Wool Company, but I might do a fingering and a mohair for this time to give it a more drapey fabric. They have the beautiful new colorway, which is kind of more lighter gray silvery, and so yeah, I'm very excited about doing that. But for now, this is the sweater. It is knit on 4mm needles. It's a DK weight. It's quite simple and basic top-down construction, just with some nice detailing that I hope is just nice and appealing. Nothing too crazy, easy to wear, easy to style with a pair of jeans or whatever, but I'm super happy with it. I'm going to work hard on getting it graded up. I need a tech editor to tech edit it. My previous pattern and my current pattern, or my next pattern release, haven't been so complicated that they require a tech editor, but now that we're really getting into the spreadsheets and getting into the mathematics of it all, I do want to have that support, so that will be the plan. And I'm conscious of a test knit for a sweater needs to have a sizable chunk of time. So, you know, for me, that's at least 12 weeks. And so we're looking at the end of the year for this to be even released. So thank you for all the interest in it, and I will continue to work on it. But I'm just really, really excited. I can't wait to get it blocked. I'm just like, probably after this, I'm going to get it in the bath and get it to relax a bit, fit it a little bit longer. I'm kind of like, the sleeves are just a little bit too short, but I know they'll block and just relax a little bit more. Or I can take them down and knit them just slightly longer. But designing it was super, super fun. It was a lot of work, and you know, you have to take a lot of notes. You have to really note everything, even noting mistakes, even noting changes as you go. You have to make sure your maths is right. It's a whole new kind of aspect of the craft that I'm really, really learning, and taking on a sweater pattern is a big undertaking. So I've been excited to kind of learn more about that. But that's the unnamed, untitled Raglan sweater. Next time I talk about it, I promise I will have a name. I have a name in mind. I just need to go and find if anyone else has already used that name. And if not, then I will go for it. But I hope you like it. It's just simple with a nice detail that I feel like flows nicely throughout the garment. And so that's kind of how I've liked it. So what else do I want to say about it? That's it. I'm really, really happy with it. I like how it looks. I'm excited to style it and wear it. So yeah, that is this sweater. And then now I'm going to move on to my only other finished object, which will require the magic needle microphone. So bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so I've got my magic needle microphone, and then now I'm going to show you the next pattern that I'm going to release. Let me pull out. Okay. Oh God, he's made a mess. That's fine. So first of all, I wanted to pull out the utility shawl. So this is my first size of the utility shawl. This is the smaller size. And this is not going to be the final yarn for this size, but this is the smaller size I wanted to show you. And I have now finished the second size, which is the larger size. This also isn't blocked. But yeah, so this is the large size of the utility shawl. Let me put down the microphone so I can put it on for you. So this size really kind of, if you wear it like this, just comes past my shoulders. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. I will grab this is my little Hide and Hammer cuff. I think it is kind of predominantly designed for shawls, and I really, really like it for these shawls, for the way I like to style it. Yes, so I like to style it like this. I like to gather it up with the cuff, and then you've got the point at the back of your neck, or the upper part of your back, and it's kind of like this warm hug that comes down like this. Let's pop in a bit closer so you can see. And then the point is at the back here. The point will be pointier when it's actually blocked out, but for now it's not blocked out. The yarns are the telling yarns in the Resolute base in the color Joe, held together with Ito Sensai in the color Glacier, and it is knit up on 3.5mm needles. And this one took a bit longer. I was quite busy, but it took a bit longer for me to get this one finished, and I really, really enjoyed making it, and I'm happy to have it done. I am going to make one more, which will be also in telling yarns, which is this. I'm going to make the smaller size in this yarn, but not holding it with the mohair, just to see how it functions. For all intents and purposes, the pattern will be at the gauge of the mohair held with this yarn, which is the fingering weight. But I spoke in the last episode about doing a pattern and a recipe, but I want to see how the kind of recipe idea functions with this. So I'm going to knit that up next and see how we get on with it. I love this yarn. This is the color Gwen Stacy, by the way. So this will be what the two kind of main samples are knit up out of. And the larger size uses 2 skeins of the telling yarn, so 2 skeins of this, plus 3 skeins of the mohair in this case, which is 20 grams for that mohair. Use 3 skeins of those. And all that to say, the test knit is going to be live. So when you're watching this, the test knit will be live. The form will be down in the description box. So if you do want to test knit this, please, jump on and apply. You don't have to have test knit before. I've only ever run 1 test knit. I thought about it a lot. I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult than originally thought, but it was actually super, super nice. You don't need to have Instagram in order to join the test knit, but if you do, then I'll add you to a group on that where we can kind of chat easily. Otherwise, we can chat over email, which is fine. And once you go down in the description box in that form, just fill that out and it will have all the information when it comes to the pattern. The pattern test will have the gauge. So I really don't mind if you use a fingering held with mohair or just a fingering or even like a light DK. As long as you can get the gauge, I'm happy for that. The test knit will be for the pattern, not necessarily the recipe. So I will ask you to actually do the pattern as it's written. And you will need to know how to do a Turkish cast on. So that's the cast on you use when you do toe-up socks. You will need to know how to do magic loop, because for the smaller size, you will use magic loop probably the whole way. And for the large size, you use the magic loop for the beginning and the end, but I did switch to just regular circular needles a little bit into it. It made it go a little bit faster for me. What are the techniques? Increasing, decreasing, knit stitch. That's it. Oh, Kitchener stitch to finish it off. So yeah, it's, I don't think you'd have to, you'd need some techniques under your belt. As long as you can do those techniques, you can do this. It's a really simple, easy, fun pattern. I'm going to do probably a 5 or 6 week test knit. It will have it in the form, how long it's going to be. And yeah, that's about it. I am so excited about this pattern. What I'm most excited about is what people do with it. People have been messaging me about all these ideas about embroidery and putting borders on it and, stripes, all these kinds of things. And even I'm kind of inspired by all that's kind of been happening with it. So, I want you to do the pattern, but you could do a scrappy version. You could do whatever, as long as the technique is there and we're all kind of ending up with a similarly sized garment as described in the final dimensions, then we're all happy with that. So yeah, do jump in and join in the test knit if you can and you have the time and you have the supplies to hand. I would love a variety of people to make it. And yeah, I'm super excited. It will be the next pattern that's coming out. And I have one more sample to make with this to test that out. And also the reason I want to do this is because I am working on the recipe idea versus pattern, so that you could use just go off the gauge or make it kind of gaugeless and just work on doing the kind of creating the shape of the shawl versus using up the kind of yarn. So I'm working on that, and so far I have the mats has matched in both the smaller size and the larger size, and I'm just testing this to see if the mats will match up with that as well, and then we could probably release it with the recipe version or with the recipe idea as well. So yeah, that's super exciting. Ooh, let me wear this another way just so you can see it worn one more way. Yeah, you can wear it kind of forward. Let me tuck my wings in there, and you can kind of see it does make it it kind of ends up that kind of small cowl shape when you wear it forward. Obviously my preference is to wear it backward with the point in the back, but it does kind of wrap around quite nicely, and it is so warm. It is so warm because it's you are making it a flattened triangular tube essentially, but it's so warm, especially with the mohair. So you've got all these layers, and I feel like everything I'm making is so warm right now, and that's nice and that's exciting, but it's the wrong time of year to be making such warm things, but I'll be ready for winter when it comes. So yes, this is Utility Shawl. made out of Telling Yarns and Resolute, and Ito Sensai is the mohair that I used, and the test knit is down below, so please join that. And I'm excited to see kind of what comes next with this pattern. It will be 2 or 3 videos, probably 3 videos from now, that I'll have a nice pattern release for you, hopefully. So that's very exciting. So yes, that's the utility shawl. I'm going to pull this off because I'm getting so hot, and we can talk about some other bits that I've been working on. Okay, let's talk about a quick acquisition because I'm very excited about it. I went to Beautiful Knitters this week. I had some time off, and of course one of my treats was to go to Beautiful Knitters. I will probably have this cast on for the next episode, but I did want to quickly talk about, we were just talking about how hot I am. I wanted to talk about some summer knits, and I picked up some of the Knitting for Olive cotton merino. This is in the color, I think it's just navy blue. Yeah, navy blue. And my plan is to make the camisole number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear with this, which is knit up in 2.5 millimeter. Yeah, I think around there size needles in this fingering weight. So stay tuned for that. The summer knits are coming. And I was talking to some other knitters and crafters today, and we were talking about how, when you're finally inspired to make all the summer knits, you have, it's already warm, and then by the time you finish making your summer knits, it's like summer's over. So we'll see how I get on with that, but that's kind of one of the next things I want to cast on, and have a nice little kind of short sleeve summer top made out of that. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's probably my next cast on, which you'll see next episode. The other thing I have been working on, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this last year, but I'm going to go volunteer again this year with a a charity here in London called Craft Forward, and they host something called Blankets for London, and that is making knitting, crafting, crocheting blankets for like unhoused people in London. And I did it last year. I did it towards the end of last year, and that was kind of what do you call it? Not sewing. Basically, you can send in like a knitted square, and then, assembling. It was like the assembly marathon. So I spent hours and hours and hours just sewing loads of squares together. But this year I'm joining one of their workshops again. I want to join a few of their kind of knitting workshops throughout the year to like make more squares. You could just send them in squares. They're not accepting them just yet, but they will open their mailbox soon for people to post in squares if you're based in London or the UK. But they have workshops have them going, so I'm going to go join one of the workshops, which is great, and hopefully join a few more throughout the rest of the year. But I did get started. So the squares need to be 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. So what I've done is I have the Sweet Shop blanket pattern by Laura Penrose, and I have used that pattern to kind of get started on some squares. I've sized up my needles and sized up my yarn a bit and just started, but I wanted to just show you, it's just a little start of a square. I feel like it always looks a bit droopy when you've finished. I've just finished this point, so that's why it looks a bit funny. But yeah, they're about 20 by 20 centimeter squares. You start from here and you kind of pick up as you go. So I've just kind of started working on that. So I have something, to contribute. So I'm going to keep working on that. This is about, I think I can get about 10 squares or so, 8 or 10 squares out of the yarn that I'm using. And this is nice woolen spun yarn, so it will be really warm, but it's also light. And yeah, so I've just been using that pattern. I haven't been doing, so in the actual Sweet Shop blanket pattern, you change colorways halfway, but I thought for practicality sense, the less ends there are hanging out and to weave in, the better off you'll be. So I've been working on that, but all that to also say that I'll be joining the workshops to just do something, try and do some good with my crafting as well and give back a little bit. So I'll be joining those throughout the rest of the year, but I also wanted to shout out that if you are a London or close to London person, you're a Londoner, they are doing something called the Big Cathedral Knit, which is happening on Saturday the 17th of August. Now I'm not going to be in London for it, so unfortunately I can't attend, which I'm sad about. I would absolutely love to attend, but it's a marathon, and you can volunteer and you can attend. So it'll be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Southwark Cathedral in London, which is near Borough Market. So if you are London based and want to drop in and knit some squares, I believe you don't have to do the full 10 to 4. I mean, I would absolutely love to do 6 hours of square knitting. That would be something I'm happy to do. But I think I think it's gonna be even bigger than last year's one. They had one that was super successful last year. It's gonna be even bigger this year. So if you're in the local, consider joining, and if you aren't, then consider looking them up and sending in some squares later in the year when they're accepting squares. But I just thought it would be something really, really fun to do and something to give back with your craft, whether you're a crocheter or knitter. And yeah, I've really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to keep working on this and hopefully get a decent chunky corner of a blanket for someone who needs it. So yeah, I just wanted to shout that out. That's something I've been doing as of late, and it's been really, really nice to give back in a very, very small way with my crafting. So I highly encourage you to do the same with your crafting if you can, if you are able. It feels great. It feels good to give back. It really, really does. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out Craft Forward. I will leave their links down in the description box as well. So you've got the test knit, and then you've got some fun charity to do as well if you are UK or London based in particular. So yeah, I wanted to share all that good stuff. Now, last time I asked for some Q&A questions, so why don't we jump into some Q&A questions for the first time, for the laugh. So yeah, let's go and do that. Okay, so I'm going to read them off my phone because I've screenshotted them all. Right. So I'm not going to say people's names because I don't know if people want to have their names called out on the episode, but I will ask the question. I think it's about 10, so I'll go through them pretty quickly if I can. I love to talk. And yes, a lot of people wanted to know what I do for a living or career, and I'm going to keep that to myself. It's not anything nefarious. But yeah, that's not something I'm going to share, so I just wanted to put that out there. But everything else, I'm an open book. So the first one is who taught me to knit. So I was taught to knit when I was about 15 or 16 in school, and I learned just the knit stitch at that time, and I made an awful acrylic red scarf. And then I would have been about 16, and then I moved to London when I was 21, and that was 14 years ago. So when I moved to London, I didn't have a job when I first came here, and I was quite bored. So that's when I re-picked up knitting again. And yeah, it was mostly YouTube. Mostly YouTube taught me how to knit. The lovely, people who record those little videos on their cameras and upload them that help us all out. I salute usually the older women who share the knowledge and share the craft, and support us all. Back then I used a lot of Knitpicks had a lot of tutorial videos which were really good, and I think Very Pig Knits maybe was going then. But yeah, mainly YouTube was how I learned to knit. Yeah, mostly self-taught. The irony is my mom knows how to knit. My mom never taught me to knit. That's not a criticism, but it was she knows how to knit and I know how to knit, and we have very different knitting styles. She's an Irish flicker, and I'm pretty fast throwing as well. But yeah, we've different not skill levels, skill types, I guess, when it comes to knitting. So yeah, that's how I learned to knit. YouTube. Which podcasters knitting related do you watch and can you recommend? I did put a call out for new ones to watch, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked any of them up yet, but I will. I've been needing some new content to watch when it comes to my knitting. A lot of the people that I watch I started as a viewer and now become friends, so would be well known to you. So Laura Penrose, Rebecca, Crabea, I'll count them all as friends. Le Garçon, Max and Vincent, Michael, Piece for Piece Crafting, Neil the Ready. Who else do I watch regularly? Mel, Cozy Cardigans. I always talk about how much I love Mel's podcast. Who else spring to mind? I have so many. that come up. Andrew Maury's one I watch all the time. Yeah, there's so many good to be honest, most people who probably YouTube recommends next to me are probably pretty good, but there are some that I need to sit down and catch up on. Oh my god, Emma from Woolly Mammoth Fibers. Yes, Emma from Woolly Mammoth Fibers, Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. I watch her a lot. And she's just launched a Patreon. So yeah, if you like natural dyeing and just someone who I think is really cool, because she does like sourdough and natural dyeing in Northern Ireland. So I'm like, oh, you're so cool. Definitely look her up. And who else? There's people I'm forgetting. I'm so sorry if I'm forgetting you, but yeah, there's so many great people out there. It's a nice, fun community, which is great. Okay, next one. You tried to knit lunch break, but how much time do you knit after work each day? Are you a morning knitter? Okay, so it depends what time I start. If I start at 9 o'clock in the morning, I make me and my partner coffees, and then I get to sit down for 20 minutes, and I will knit for 20 minutes before I leave the house. Then I will knit for an hour on my lunch. And then when I get home, I knit for, I guess, 3 to 4 hours easily, maybe even 5. Once I've worked out and made dinner, if I'm sitting, I'm knitting. So yeah, I could easily do, on a bad day, 3 hours. On a good day, 6 or 7 hours, I guess, knitting. And then weekends, I will, like on a Saturday, I go do some yoga. And then my boyfriend is a cyclist, so he goes and cycles for like the whole day, and I sit at home and I knit or shoot a video for you. So yeah, so that's how I knit a lot. If I'm sitting, I'm knitting, as they say, for sure. This is a Minnesota question. Have you ever been to Darn Knit Anyway in Stillwater, Minnesota? I have not. I've only been to the Yarnery and Stephen Green, I want to say, was the other knit shop. I'll put it up if I can think of the name. Been to 2 yarn stores in Minnesota. For those of you who don't know, my brother lives in Minnesota. It's a really fun yarn store. Also, would you ever do a knitting meetup next time you're in Minnesota? Yes, I mean, the thing about meetup in Minnesota is, as much as I would love to do it, my priority when I get there is my family. I see my brother and sister-in-law and my niece and my nephew so rarely that I want to spend every minute I can with them, because they're some of the people I love the most in the world. So if it's possible, I would love to do a meetup, but my priority is my family on those trips. So that's why I would never want to promise that I would do a meetup or be able to meet up with people in Minnesota specifically. If I'm ever in another state, then it probably would be easier, but Minnesota especially, I just want to hang out with my niece and nephew and be stupid and play games and enjoy them because they're the best. So yeah, probably a no. If I'm there for a longer amount of time, then yes, I would love to do a Minnesota meetup. But yeah, sorry to disappoint. Probably not the next time I go. Here's a question. I just finished watching your podcast. Why does everyone put mohair in everything? What about the people who like your pattern but is allergic to mohair? What do they do? I have not seen a designer yet that is included in their own pattern suggestion. If you really like my pattern, you're allergic to mohair, try using. So I thought about this a lot. And this is another reason why when I was talking about testing and doing another sample, because this is without mohair, because I know people are allergic to mohair, they don't like it or don't like the texture of it, or it makes them itchy or whatever. And so 2 things. From the allergy point of view, you can always try, I would say, if you want to mix a pattern that has mohair. So one of the great things about mohair when you hold it with fingering is how it makes a really nice drapey fabric. So I would try and use an equivalent weight with something that uses alpaca, maybe, if you're not allergic to alpaca, because alpaca is like a drapey fiber. The other thing is that as long as you get gauge, you can use whatever fiber you want, really. So as long as the stitches per inch and or rows per 4 inches and stitches per 4 inches matches that in the pattern, you can use whatever you want. I think mohair definitely is having its moment. And people really like it. I really like it. I like the fabric and I like how it feels and it keeps me warm and it's quite light. As an alternative, there is Suri alpaca, but there are alternatives. I think alpaca is probably the main one I would say, but otherwise, as long as you get the gauge that's in the pattern, it should be the correct dimensions. So yeah, if in doubt, you can just swatch it. Swatching is the way to go. But yeah, I do completely understand, like, mohair is very prevalent, especially in my corner of the internet or the people that I follow. I feel like everyone loves mohair. But alternative wise, you're looking up alpaca or just figuring out the gauge that works. So yeah, that's my response to that. I hope that helps or that makes sense. And I am so aware of it. That's why for this one also, this sweater, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this version, which is just pure wool. And then I'll do a version that's with mohair as well. Because yeah, as long as the gauges match, it should be fine. It will give you just a different drape. So yeah. My question is, are you coming back to Rhinebeck this year? I would absolutely love to come back to Rhinebeck this year. I probably won't have the time from my day job to come to Rhinebeck. I would absolutely love to. Probably can't afford to go to Rhinebeck this year. So yeah, that's probably why mostly it's time and money, and I have neither of those things currently to attend Rhinebeck. I would really, really love to. I think a good goal for me would be probably every second year. So maybe 2025 would be the next time I go to Rhinebeck. And yeah, I will be back for sure. I will be back. I had such a great time last time, and it was, the whole trip was marred by different things, some out of my control. Well, most things out of my control. So I would like to go again and have some better time after the lessons learned. But all in all, I had an amazing time. So yes, I will be back to Rhinebeck. It won't be this year unless something comes out of the woodwork. But yeah, it won't be this year, but probably next year. 2025, you can definitely pencil me in. I will be there because I had a fantastic time last year. Next question. How long have you been knitting? So yeah, I guess I answered that the first time. If you count from when I first learned the knit stitch, then it's coming up on 20 years, but like full on, it's 14 years that I've been knitting. Yeah. This is a London specific one. I live just outside the London Tube Network but regularly travel in. Have you ventured to Richmond to check out the new yarn shop, which is the same unit held by Tribe Yarns before Millie moved the business to Scotland? Planning a visit sometime, would be keen to hear from you if you've had the opportunity to pop in there. I haven't had the opportunity to pop into this new yarn store. There's 2 yarn stores in London that I really want to visit, and that's one of them, is the new one in Richmond. And then there's the other one, which I've completely forgotten the name of. I'll put it on the screen. Sorry, editing Jonathan, you'll have to put it on the screen. Yeah, there's 2 yarn shops in London I've been meaning to visit that I haven't visited before, and just to check them out and see what they have. But I haven't been to that one. I do know it's a wonderful space and Richmond is really beautiful to visit, but I haven't been to visit myself. So yeah, I need to go. Then next question is... My question is, if you had to choose just one pattern to knit over and over and over, which one would you choose and why? I think long-term viewers can probably guess what I would knit. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do one accessory and one garment. One accessory would be the Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry. I've made it 3 times and I will continue to make it because it's one of my favorite things to wear. And it's a pretty enjoyable knit. And then garment-wise, it's probably the Stockholm Slipover by Petite Knit. If I had to make something over and over again, because I wear it a lot, and I think it is fun to make. It's like, you do put interest here, and then you knit flat down. So the final question is, I picked up some unbanded yarn at a charity shop. Is there a way I can find out about the fiber, wool or acrylic, as it is very similar to a spin cycle colorway in a chunky weight? So yes, I do know how to do this. I've never done it myself. And the way you do it is you set it on fire. So I've read this in one of Stephanie Pearl McPhee's books, or I also read it in the Knitter's Book of Yarn by Clara Parks. So you can do this for like fabric in general, whether to figure out if something is man-made or if it's natural. But for wool in particular, if you set something that's 100% wool on fire, I think the term is it itself extinguishes itself. So basically, if you set like your sleeve on fire and it's wool, it would burn for a little bit, but it would self-extinguish. So essentially it would it wouldn't carry up, essentially, is what that means. So it extinguishes itself, which is why 100% wool is a very fire safe fiber. So there is this kind of theory, you know, when people make baby blankets, like, oh, well, I have to make it not in wool so it doesn't catch on fire. But other man-made fibers like acrylic can catch and, you know, fully engulf in flames. So it is technically better to make baby blankets out of wool, because if the corner of a cot fire, for some reason, I don't know why you'd have a candle burning in your child's cot, but if you did, the corner of that would self-extinguish, so the whole thing wouldn't catch. But if it was like acrylic, the whole thing would catch. Now, what you got to do is you got to snip off a piece, maybe go outside. This is not, you know, be careful, for goodness sake. If you're setting something on fire, have some water nearby or go outdoors. And basically, if you set it on fire, it shouldn't like go, if you had a piece, it shouldn't go the whole way along. It should self-extinguish itself. So the entire piece of wool shouldn't catch on fire, shouldn't. If the whole thing does catch, then it is most likely acrylic. The other big thing is, I don't know if you've ever burned your hair. It should smell like burned hair because wool is, you know, it's similar to hair essentially in its kind of genetic makeup. So it should smell strongly if it's 100% wool. It should self-extinguish. And then also the residue. So I do believe that acrylic will leave kind of like a burnt plastic, essentially, residue. And wool will leave like more of like ash. So that's how you can tell whether it's acrylic or wool. Now I won't be able to, so that's how you can tell that. There are like, if you search like the burn test for yarn or burn test for fabric, there'll be tons of things that come up that give you like the real detail on that. Once you know whether it's wool or acrylic, you can also tell whether it's superwash or non-superwash by trying to spit splice it, which is essentially felt it. So you put the two fibers together, you wet it and you rub them together. And when you rub it, your hands get warm and the friction should felt the two fibers together if it's non-superwash. So you do this, and then when you pull, it should stay together like a piece of yarn. If you pull it and it comes apart, then it's superwash. So those are the two tests that you can do to determine what the fiber is, whether it's like a man-made fiber or whether it's a natural fiber, being plant-based or wool. And then if it's superwash or non-superwash. So those are the best ways to determine what your mystery yarn is. But if you picked up a cool color-changing spin cycle colorway in a charity shop, that's amazing. Maybe it's even hand-spun. Like it could be, if it's unbanded, it might be even hand-spun. That would be amazing. But yeah, I hope you can figure it out and that it's beautiful and that you can make something really nice with it. But yeah, definitely search like fabric burn test and then they'll be able to tell you more information. But I think I've got those details right on that. So yeah, so that's Q&A. If you have more Q's you'd like me to I really enjoyed seeing the questions and answering the questions. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Drop me a question down below. Join the test knit for the utility shawl, go do some charity, and then let me know what you've been knitting on. As always, like the video. We love a like, we love a subscription. There's also the bell thing. It helps people find the video, which is very much appreciated by me. So yes, do all those fun things. Let me know how you're doing. I hope you're doing well. Are you doing summer knits? Are you already preparing for winter and just doing winter knits? And yeah, thank you so much for watching this far into the video. I really, really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I'm very excited for things on the way, and I hope you're safe, I hope you're well, and I hope you are enjoying some really nice craft along with me. So thanks for joining, and I will see you in 3 weeks. Take care, bye.